I'm Lauren Lowry in the WSMV Now studio. We've got a lot of information that's been coming in to our newsroom about this Titan submersible. You know, this had everybody's attention these last several days all around the world, not just here in the U.S. because, you know, of course, we were dispatching U.S. Coast Guard, several other government agencies as they were searching for the Titan. But also, there were people from other countries on that submersible inside. And so there were people all over the world really interested in what was going on with this. I want to check this for you real quick as I bring that up. There we go. You can probably hear me a little bit better right now. I want to show you some video here as we take a look at exactly the 5 people who were inside that submersible. Captain Hamish Harding, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, Stockton Rush, who owned the company, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman Dawood. And there was some new information that NBC News just put out today that I want to read to you. I'm going to read it off my phone, matter of fact. The aunt of Suleiman Dawood, in an interview with NBC News, said her nephew had informed a relative that he wasn't very up for this trip, but went on the excursion anyway because it happened over Father's Day weekend, and his dad, Shahzada, who you see there, he just really wanted to please his dad for Father's Day, and his dad was passionate about the Titanic, and so that's why he just really wanted to go with his dad, even though he didn't so much care about, the thing itself. He didn't want to go into the ocean, didn't want to go into that Titan submersible because he was scared of it. The aunt went on to say that she felt disbelief and that she, after she heard the announcement from the U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Mauger yesterday that underwater debris had been found, was consistent with that catastrophic implosion. That was when the aunt of Suleiman said, oh my goodness, he didn't even want to go. And so that's now become part of this story. I want to show you a story that we just have gotten access to today here in the last couple of hours as we go straight to the scene of where was kind of like ground zero, where everything started in terms of the search. Check this out here.
A day after discovery of debris less than a half mile from the bow of the Titanic wreckage and the confirmation from the Coast Guard that it was in fact pieces of the missing submersible, the questions shift from where it may be to why and how this happened. It is a search not for those 5 men on board, but for evidence and answers. And we know that the remote operated vehicles that have been a part of all of this will remain in the region, mapping out the area, trying to find more evidence of what went wrong. What we have been told by those who have been a part of this operation is that the evidence right now appears to show that there was some type of catastrophic implosion, and that likely the result of a break in the pressure inside that vessel. If that's the case, what most say is that it happened very quickly, and that's bringing at least a bit of comfort to the family members of those inside.
To know that my Sully didn't feel a moment's pain, that his brain didn't even realize, that's a relief.
Now, the Coast Guard says that the operation will continue, that they will continue to try and find whatever they can. No decision yet on whether some of that evidence will make the trip 2.5 miles from the floor of the ocean to the surface. That's the latest here in Boston. I'm Jay Gray. Now back to you.
You know, there's so many questions as it deals with this story. So many people have said, okay, well, if the U.S. Coast Guard detected an anomaly in the sound on Sunday, why did it take until Thursday for us to find the debris field, for us to even know that the people had been declared dead? So at this point, there's just so much more information coming in. As I share with you some more of this video here, I want to read some new information that's also come down from NBC. The tourist sub did lose contact around 1 hour, 45 minutes into its 2-hour dive, and it was found on the seabed about 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. And still, officials don't know yet, where this imploded, why this imploded. So many questions remain. We do know, though, that the pressure that would have crushed this 22-foot craft, I mean, this would have been the equivalent in the weight of like 10,000 tons. And what is that? The wrought iron Eiffel Tower. So imagine the pressure of that Eiffel Tower on this vessel. that is what caused it to implode. Now, at this point, why it happened, gosh, that's what's going to take all of the investigations. You know, this was a conversation that we've had just even here in the newsroom about when a plane crashes, you have a black box, you have some indication of what might have happened. Well, in a vessel like this, it's unregulated. There's not going to be the same kind of information that we would typically get from, again, something like a plane crash. So what kind of debris they might have found, even if they found bodies of the 5 people missing, we don't know that yet. So there's a huge investigation that's going to be underway now as they try to piece back together what in the world happened with this thing. And the assumption at this point is that the implosion happened on Sunday, an hour and 45 minutes into what was going to be a 2-hour dive. So it happened potentially before they even realized something was wrong. Of course, it's speculation. We don't exactly know what was going on inside at the time of that implosion, but it was instant. They would have had no idea what was happening as it happened. As you heard one woman say in the story I played for you just a moment ago, that brought her a little bit of comfort, knowing that her Suleiman, her 19-year-old nephew, didn't feel any pain. I want to share a story with you that gets into the details of how they found the wreckage, how searchers found the wreckage, and specifically the tool they used to find it. Check this out.
After 4 days, an international search effort that covered air and sea has ended in tragedy. A remotely operated vehicle more than 2 miles below the surface, making a grim discovery, ending hopes of finding the 5 people on board alive.
The debris field is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel.
A tweet shared the first news. Debris found about 1/3 of a mile away from the Titanic wreckage. The Coast Guard says an ROV located 5 major debris pieces on the ocean floor. First, a nose cone, then a part of the vessel where passengers would have been.
We found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event.
The company that operated the Titan said in a statement they believed all lives aboard were sadly lost, including OceanGate's CEO, a Titanic explorer, an adventurer who had been to both poles, and a father and son duo. The statement went on to say these men were true explorers who shared a distinct spirit of adventure. The Coast Guard says more investigation is needed, but debris suggests those banging sounds picked up Tuesday and Wednesday by sonar did not come from the Titan calling for help. One friend of victim Paul-Henri Nargeolet said a marine explorer once described another catastrophic implosion like this.
He said, for the crew, it was just like a light switch was switched off. They didn't even realize what was happening. They didn't suffer.
Yeah, I think pointing that out, you're hearing more people say that here in the last 24 hours since we got the news. It was in the 2 o'clock hour on Thursday afternoon that the Coast Guard did hold a news conference showing everyone what they had found, or essentially just telling them that they had found the debris field and that the lives would be sadly lost. The depth of the Titanic, of the wreckage, I mean, it's significantly far down. I mean, something like 12 to 14,000 feet, right? So below the ocean surface. So you're talking about significant amounts of pressure from the water that's pressing down on this submersible. It's the reason why few people have ever even seen this wreckage, because it's so dangerous for humans. That amount of pressure, you just can't even imagine what that would do clearly to a craft. And here we have evidence of what can be done. Again, I want to show you the 5 people who were killed in this. Captain Hamish Harding, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, Stockton Rush, the owner of the company, and then the father-son duo, Shahzada and Suleiman Dawood. And as I mentioned earlier, NBC News is now reporting that Suleiman, on the far right, the 19-year-old, was terrified to go on that trip with his father, didn't even want to go, but because it was Father's Day weekend, he said, okay, Dad, I'll go with you. And then an hour and 45 minutes into that trip is when Coast Guard is now believing that implosion, that catastrophic implosion happened. And in that exact moment, it would have been blink of an eye were the deaths of those 5 men. So this is a story that, gosh, has so many people's attention right now. It has our attention, it has the world's attention. As more information comes out, we will continue to keep following this for you and bring you every bit of details. And also, if you want to follow this story, WSMV.com and our WSMV4 app, we have all of these stories for you right here. Just kind of scroll up to the top so you can see. Titan implosion has searchers hunting for clues, officials grappling with complex investigation. So you can see links to stories that we've done on this. You can watch videos that go along with everything that's come down from this. Like, for example, you can watch a long clip from the Admiral in the U.S. Coast Guard who essentially gave the news yesterday that the lives had been lost. You also see more information of the 5 people who went missing. And this story just keeps going and going. So if this is something you want to read more details about, or you want to share it on your social media, stay up to date right there. Again, this is the headline you're going to be looking for. Titan implosion has searchers hunting for clues. Officials grappling with complex investigation. So, of course, a lot more